Right now, spending on AI is likely higher than the revenue it brings in. That and hashtag 039s for sure. The speed at which AI is advancing is faster than any other technology one have ever seen. For example, the Turing test used to be important. A simple open-source language model running on a Raspberry Pi could potentially pass the Turing test. I believe that the future of AI can lead to great prosperity, with plenty of goods and services for everyone. People can generally get what they want, except for things that we decide are limited, like unique artwork. However, for products and services created by machines or technology, I believe that with the rise of AI and robots, their costs will eventually become very low or even zero. Like, I and hashtag 039, am not saying it will be actually zero, but it will be. Everyone will be able to have anything they want. That and hashtag 039s the good future. Of course, in my view, that and hashtag 039s probably 80% likely. Stay positive. Only 20%, probably in our country, nothing. Is the 20% like, what does that look like? I Don and hashtag 039, no, man. I mean, truly, I do have to go engage in some degree of deliberate suspension of disbelief with respect to AI in order to sleep well. And even then, because I think the real issue, the most likely issue is like, well, how do we find meaning in a world where AI can do everything we can do a bit better? That is perhaps the bigger task. Although at this point, I know more and more people who are retired and they seem to enjoy that life. So, but I think that maybe there and hashtag 039, LL be some crisis of meaning, like, because the computer can do everything you can do, but better, so maybe that and hashtag 039, LL be a challenge. But really, you need the sort of end effectors, you need the driverless cars, and you need the sort of humanoid robots or general purpose robots. Once we have robots that can perform many tasks like humans and self-driving cars, we can create anything we want. I believe there ISN and hashtag 039, a real ceiling to how big the economy can grow. There is clearly the huge Earth. That would be one limit. The economy is simply the average output of each person multiplied by the number of people. That and hashtag 039, how the economy works. If you have lifelike robots that can do tasks, there are no real limits on how many of them you can have. If they can work smartly, there are no real limits to the business. Let and hashtag 039, take a look at Nvidia and hashtag 039, stock after all the news by Jensen Huang at CES. At first, the shares increased to a new high before his comments yesterday, as Josh pointed out. However, they have dropped during today's trading. Now they and hashtag 039, close to the lowest point of the day, Josh, which ISN and hashtag 039, surprising. It seems that Nvidia goes up, then down, then up again, and down again, showing a similar trend. Yes, shares opened higher today, especially in the pre-market. If you look at the drop in Nvidia, which is a significant stock we and hashtag 039, discussed a lot, you and hashtag 039, LLC how much it impacts the market. It and hashtag 039, a large company now. It and hashtag 039, now past Apple and Microsoft are competing for the title of the largest company in the world. The stock is still quite unpredictable. Seeing a 6% drop is surprising, similar to when Apple drops 6% during their announcements. I think this stock has acted like a meme at times, so I'm not surprised by its big price changes. Overall, it seems like there hasn't and hashtag 039, been much news in the last 24 hours that analysts are commenting on or worrying about regarding Nvidia and hashtag 039's future. It doesn't and hashtag 039, seem like many people are openly disappointed by what Jensen Huang said at CBS. Well, and as the analysts over at Stifel pointed out, the announcements are important but long-tailed. This one and hashtag 039, really impact Nvidia and hashtag 039's profits or revenues this year. It and hashtag 039's about Jensen Huang and hashtag 039's long-term vision and what that will mean for the business. Investors usually focus on short-term results with these things. But right now, the stock is lower. It and hashtag 039, true that it can be unstable sometimes. However, when I looked back, I saw that it has dropped the most since September 3rd. On that day, the company received orders from the Justice Department as part of an antitrust investigation, just for context. Yes. And one other thing I and hashtag 039, bring up, Julie, it reminds me a little bit of another company that talks about autonomous cars a lot and how that doesn't and hashtag 039, usually move the needle for it, right? Jensen Huang gave a strong presentation about the investor story, and Dan Halley mentioned that the business for driverless cars is currently worth $5 billion. Imagine when they're in hashtag 039, $100 million self-driving cars, how that business grows, your head can get there. I think I and hashtag 039, am just still sitting here thinking, when does that happen? It doesn't feel like it and hashtag 039, already 2025. It doesn't and hashtag 039, seem like a story for 2026 or 2027. When is it arriving? And it and hashtag 039, a little bit of wait and see, I think, and investors maybe. Nvidia gave the opening speaking speeches, which had a huge turnout. People waited in line for 2 hours to see it. Nvidia has revealed its RTX 5000 series, including the 5090 card, which is priced at $2,000. It and hashtag 039, the strongest graphics card they and hashtag 039, created yet for games, so it and hashtag 039, a significant development. They have a project called Digits that should be very interesting. It and hashtag 039, a $3,000 desktop computer, but it and hashtag 039, not meant for regular buyers. This is for people who work with AI. It can manage up to 200 billion parameters, while GPT-4 has about 20 billion parameters. So this is going to be a very powerful system that and hashtag 039, going to allow writers to run models locally at home without having to rely on the cloud. There are also other improvements in AI. I also pay a lot of attention to PCs. The biggest event I and hashtag 039, seen at CES in a long time focused a lot on AI. Lenovo won an award for their new laptop, which has a unique display that can extend upwards. This is a laptop that appears to be 14 inches in size, and it looks completely standard. When you wave your hand or flip a switch, the monitor will rise and increase in size by nearly 3 inches. It ranges from 14 to almost 17 inches. This gives you a long straight screen. It and hashtag 039, a type of OLED technology that can be rolled up. It and hashtag 039, really surprising. If you ever wanted a bigger screen, this laptop will be available for sale in the next few months. And then, iDawn and hashtag 039, no, there are just a couple other, LG and Samsung both announced new TVs. I like the anti-reflective technology. There have been more improvements with 8K TVs too. Consider what else might have happened. Oh yeah, the big thing was the new, there and hashtag 039, vacuum, yeah, so the Dream X50 Ultra Robot Vacuum, which has little legs on it. So it doesn't and hashtag 039, climb your stairs. So for those who have robot vacuums know this. The issue with robot vacuums is that they can get stuck on small areas, like door frames or when trying to go over carpets. These small legs will really help it move over those things. It can keep cleaning your entire house. I can and hashtag 039, climb stairs right now, but maybe in a couple of years I and hashtag 039, be able to. Yes, for only $1,700. You and hashtag 039, have a smart, easy-to-use cleaner.